What's good, chat? It's your boy, Luke Man, and today I'm here for 10 tips on alternate picking. And you might be wondering to yourself, what does this guy know about alternate picking? To which I answer, everything. By the way, I have a course in the link in the description below. It's called the Hand Synchronization Station. You can definitely check that out if you want to get even better at alternate picking. All right, so starting out with tip number one, let's get a Google spreadsheet going. And this is really helpful because you can clock your BPM for that given day, as well as the subdivision that you're working on. So let's say you have a 16th note run. And you can actually look and see, okay, so I got this up to 135 beats per minute today. So then you can track your progress kind of like a video game. So that leads me to the next step, which is get 5 beats per minute faster every single day. That's tip number 2. So that kind of brings in the gamifying effect that I was just talking about. So if you had 135 yesterday, today we're shooting for 140. So how are we going to do that? That's with the breakaway method. Okay, so the breakaway method reminds me of a rocket ship, right? That launches and then ditches its thrusters. And I don't know a lot of rocket science. The idea is that we count our subdivisions. So if we are going with a 16th note subdivision group, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4. So that is 3 times 4, 12 notes plus 1, just to line up with the downbeat there. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4. So let's say that particular subdivision gets tough to play at 140 beats per minute, for instance. Then I'm going to take one of these subdivisions off. Actually, I guess it was this finger that had that subdivision on there, and I'll leave this for the downbeat. So now I have 1E and a 2E and a, that's it. 1E and a 2E and a 3. I'll put that downbeat there just to line up, make sure that you kind of have a place to aim and end up putting the subdivisions in the right spot. So that's the next subdivision that I'll practice with my click as I drive it 5 beats per minute up from there, 5 beats per minute up from there. So like 145, 150, 155, so on and so forth. And you'll find that that's a lot easier to do than if you're getting stuck at here. You can continue on playing that just because it's a smaller volume of notes. Yeah, so the next one is to play with just your left hand. So the thing is, a lot of times people will say, oh, my right hand is so messed up, I have to work on my picking. Little do they know that it's their left hand that's sabotaging everything. So I would play the same exercise, but I would use just my left hand. Okay, and so when I say just my left hand, I am picking some notes. I'll tell you which ones they are. It's the first note of each string. All right, on another lick where we don't change strings so many times, I would easily, for sure, do the entire thing, like a sextuplet. Let's play on the G string, and I'm playing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. 2 groups of sextuplets with 1 extra note to line up with the downbeat. I would play that whole thing just my left hand and see, well, how does it sound? Does it sound like this? Well, then I have to work on just that hand. Okay, step number 5 is do the exact same thing, but vice versa. So just the right hand, you know. And so let's say we were working with this sextuplet. That would be. Okay, that's a lot easier. So long as we're playing the right subdivision, sometimes people think they're playing the correct subdivision, but they're not. That makes things difficult. But let's look at the 16th note pattern. Okay, that's a bonus little hack there. You can see I'm kind of visualizing that I am using my left hand, and that's what got my right hand to do this, because it is hard for me to get my right hand to go where I want it to without having the left hand kind of guide it, even if I am doing an exercise or an example where I'm trying to demonstrate just playing with the right hand. So visualize your left hand, really think about your left hand, and that kind of helps your right hand to go to where it's at. That's the bonus one. Okay, number 6 is use a Jazz 3 guitar pick. So regular standard guitar picks, they have very floppy surface area. It's almost flat, dude. It might as well be flat. You know, you might as well try to pick with that. It's very difficult because there's all this extra surface area versus this has a nice point to it. It has basically just enough surface area and it's very rigid. So I ended up using standard guitar picks because I had such a hard time playing tremolo picking. Examples. I ended up having an easier time when I used a bigger guitar pick. However, with all my tips, it's a lot easier to perform these things with whatever gear you want once you already have the technique down. But while you're training it, I really recommend making everything as easy for you as possible, and that's what I plan to explain to you in this video, okay? So, yeah, having this Jazz 3 guitar pick and something rigid because it doesn't move, that kind of brings me to my next tip. Tip 7, I believe, is to get heavier guitar strings because something light, like for instance, this is 9 tuned to E standard. I personally use 9 to 42 tuned to E flat because I like the vibrato that I can get. Okay, but I make a sacrifice for my tremolo picking. It's a lot more difficult to do because the string goes all over the place. You know, and that's part of that is my technique. You know, I understand that I have to continue working on my technique. But while I'm building it up, if the string stays here the whole time and I don't have to chase it, getting smacked around and basically making these huge waves, these huge noodle waves every pick stroke, then it's more difficult, right? But if it stays in the same place, it's a lot more consistent and you're ultimately training your hand to stay in one place, right? To be efficient. So what better way than to keep the string that you're hitting in the same spot every single time too. Okay, so that makes things easier. Oh yes, more distortion. So I would max out your gain. Try to get as much noise happening. And this does 2 things. One, it gives you more confidence because you have more volume, right? Like even with this setting that I have right now, I don't have a distortion pedal. I just have a lot of gain on the amp. It's still kind of hard. Like my notes aren't totally, I don't have the confidence that this note is gonna just ring out forever. I actually feel that it might start to give out pretty soon. Versus if you just have tons of distortion, yeah, that noise is there, but that's a good thing as well because that will subconsciously teach you to mute things. And when you practice electric guitar, you have to practice the muting guitar. You have to practice good muting because that's the only way you can get things clean. You see Zakk Wylde playing guitar like this pretty much, and he has such good muting on his left hand that it doesn't matter. All those other strings that he's hitting don't ring out. So that's definitely a huge tip for having good, clean electric guitar playing. But yeah, the whole thing about having that distortion is it makes the guitar playing more effortless. The less hard you have to try, the better guitar playing you are ending up with, okay? And so on that note as well, the tip number 9 is to wear earplugs because you're thinking, you know, some people are kind of like scratching their head when I tell them this tip, this technique. It rolls off the string noise. So when you hear that string noise, sometimes subconsciously you're trying extra hard to make sure that you can continue to hear that string noise. And when you take that out of the mix entirely and all you have is your amp, which can be very powerful. It gives you that confidence that's what you're playing is very easy to do. And if you're in a relaxed headspace and you have this idea that what you're doing is simple, then you won't be tensing up and you won't be sabotaging your alternate picking. Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that happens is people tense up and that really inhibits your playing. So the more amp you can hear, the less string noise you can hear, definitely the better for confidence. And tip 10 is consistency. So everything that I just said, make it a daily habit. Do that every single day. Like I said, if you follow a Google tracking sheet or whatever sort of sheet app that you like to use and you bring your particular subdivision that you're working on up 5 beats per minute every single day, then in the course of a month, you can bring the metronome from 100 beats per minute with 16th notes, let's say, to 200 beats per minute with 16th notes. And I personally think that's kind of like the gold standard. That's where everything starts. It's like once you can get your picking there, then you can start to have fun. Obviously, you want to get it even quicker than that, but it's really good base to start. And all these tips that I have to share with you are based off conversations that I've had with my one-on-one clients. So I'm actually going to leave a link in the description below if you want to check into that. By the way, I also have a course on alternate picking. It's called the Hand Synchronization Station. That's in the link below as well. Peace!